Guys? Hello? Guys? Hello?
Hey, Boo.
Oh, hey, Myles.
Where's Jpar?
I don't know. I thought he was with you.
No, I thought he was here with you.
I could have sworn I heard him come in with you.
Hello? It's really dark.
Are you sure?
Yeah, pretty sure. If he's not here in the next 10 minutes, we're gonna have a late show.
That's not good. Oh,
Guys? Can you hear me?
do you hear something?
I can hear you guys. I can hear you. Can you hear me, guys?
I hear something faint, but it's an old building. It's probably an old creaky window.
I think the lights are out. Just turn on the switch.
Yeah, you might be right. It's happened before.
Hit the switch. Just hit the switch, guys.
Hey, since Jpar's not here, think we can scoff some of these egos?
Yeah, I was wondering about these. Did you make these?
I definitely didn't make these, but I'm definitely going to eat them.
Oh, okay.
Guys?
Are you sure you didn't hear that?
Guys, it's really weird in here, guys. It's really
Okay, I
weird.
definitely heard something there. So I better eat these egos before Jpar gets back.
Oh, he won't mind.
I
Guys?
just can't find the forks. It's really dark in here.
Yeah, I was wondering the same actually when I got here. I don't know if he's just trying to cut down on costs on the hydro bill or what, but
Okay, I'm gonna go flick this switch over here.
yeah, we might as well. Oh, Jay, what the hell are you doing in the corner there?
You've been here the whole time?
Guys, I thought I was in the upside down.
Dude, you get into these shows way too much. Let me guess, you're looking for the demi-gorgon.
Wait! How do you know about the demi-gorgon? This is Jpar, and you are listening to the We Promise Nothing show. Today on the show, we have Myles and we have Da Boo. Before we get things started, I just want to remind everyone that the music you're listening to right now has been brought to you by SoundsLikeAnEarful.com. If you need great music for your podcast, check them out, SoundsLikeAnEarful.com. Now this week, we are going to review Stranger Things. It's a new Netflix series that has come out in the last couple months. And it has been, well, in my opinion, fantastic. It has an 80s feel to it. But before we get into that, say hello to the crowd, guys.
Hey guys, Da Boo here.
Hello, everybody. Miles.
All right, and we're going to get into... Really? Just Myles?
Just Miles, yeah.
Myles and Myles. He's just here, guys. Just here.
No need for anything else.
All right, so we are going to review Stranger Things, which is a Netflix series, mini-series. I guess it started as a mini-series, but recently heard that it is going to be signed on for a second season. This is a thriller, drama, mystery, science fiction kind of show. It stars Winona Ryder, David Harbour, Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Gaten Matarazzo, Caleb McLaughlin, Natalia Dyer, and Charlie Heaton, many more actors and actresses, some known, some unknown. Winona Ryder obviously being the one that is known. I haven't seen her in something for a while. I've seen some of the others. Actually, I might have to admit, I've seen one of the boys in a commercial recently, actually. And I was quite proud of the fact that it was, I think, one of the underdogs. Anyhow, we'll get to that later.
This kind of reminds me of like those old 80s movies. It kind of has like a sci-fi feel. One of the kids goes missing right at the hop. They're playing D&D, so it kind of gets you familiar with these kind of kids and maybe someone who's a little bit nerdy. They're talking about X-Men comics and the such. One goes missing, Will Byers, and they end up looking for him. And they can't find him, and ends up becoming this mystery that unravels. They meet this girl with unique abilities, and it plays out in this. How many episodes was this?
8
episodes series, and I think it was done very well. Right away, it kicks off with a very 80s vibe. It feels very familiar to anyone who's grown up in that time period, and and it pays off.
when you watch it. So I mean, that's my opening thoughts. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good show. It starts off with a pretty good hook. Makes you want to keep on watching over and over and just binge watch it in a weekend, which I ended up doing myself.
I agree.
And I think a lot of people
I think
did.
so. That's just a good sign of good writing, to be honest with you.
Now, whether it all ends up being great at the end, we'll tell you a little bit further into this review. Alright, so it's created by the Duffer Brothers, and episodes typically run for 55 minutes at a time. It's very much inspired, you could tell, by like a Steven Spielberg or even Stephen King, the way it's kind of played out. Feels very, very much like a Stand By Me kind of thriller sometimes, dealing with monsters in alternate dimensions. Definitely science fiction galore, and you know, for anyone who loves that kind of stuff, this is going to be something you're into, and even anyone who loves the old 80s, I feel you're gonna like it as well. We're definitely going to get into some spoilers here, so don't if you haven't seen this show yet, I recommend definitely watching it, coming back, and then listening to our review. Is there anything that you would like to kind of like say to the audience who might be thinking of watching this without giving anything away?
For me, the strongest point for the show was the music. The music was always constant at all times. There was no pause, and it traveled with you as you're going through the different scenes. So if it was scary, it was more tense. If it was happy, it was more joyous. The ups were high and the lows were low. So I don't know. To me, the soundtrack was killer. So even if you didn't like the writing, even if you didn't like the story or the characters, the music alone was so good. And it start to finish, every episode, you knew exactly what was happening on screen. You didn't even have to watch the TV. And you knew, okay, we're at a really scary part, or, oh, someone's missing, because the music was such a huge factor in it.
You're right. Actually, the whole score throughout the entire show actually had been really used in an emotional sense, which I think you're absolutely right. I think they did that not only so well that I actually really do enjoy the kind of story that it's telling. It kind of brought back to me the vibe of when I was a child, you know, and how that first viewing of E.T. brought to me as a young boy. It had that similar kind of mysticism to it, I think, throughout it. The way the story unfolded was a little slow going in some areas, I can admit, but like any other show, I feel like it has, like you said, its highs and lows. But the score, you're absolutely right, I think just lended to it that throughout the entire length of the story in itself, no matter where you were in the story, even if you just jumped right in midway, I feel like you honestly understood what was happening on screen, whether it was, you know, could be completely, you know, emotionally driven or not. The music was either subtle or strongly there.
And I find also with these pay-for channels like HBO or Starz or Netflix, these short runs, 8 episodes, 10 episodes, 13 episodes, you get less filler.
Oh, yeah.
So every episode is extremely important for both character development, story development. There's no fluff, basically. It's just like if you miss something for a minute, 2 minutes, you miss something crucial for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to totally agree that music really draws you in. It feels like it's almost like I know X-Files isn't 80s, but I almost feel it sounds a little bit like X-Files. It may be a bit of Twilight Zone, you know, or, you know, like Outer Limits, the way it's got like a weird kind of eerie sound, and once again, drawing on that very 80s feel. So, yeah, I do agree the music is awesome, and it's something I think that's kind of missing from movies nowadays. You know, like I haven't seen too many movies that like have really great music the way like the old classics do. Like when you hear like an Indiana Jones or a Star Wars, like you just know their themes usually. Even a Back to the Future, Terminator, you know these themes. Like I find a lot of these, I can't think of like memorable themes from like new movies. You know what I mean?
Speaking of which, too, even the Stranger Things theme song in itself has almost become memorable, and it's only been here for a short little while, right? So that in itself speaks volumes on how popular this has really become so quickly. But you guys are absolutely right. I honestly think it's the combination of bringing back the emotion of using said music, and at the same time giving us a story like, as you said, Myles, it was like they had no room for fluff, so they had no choice but to really put to full use each of their episodes. And I think that's why I guess I really enjoy the way the story unfolds. Every episode ends and begins in such a way that you want to know what happens next. And that's like anything, like a good book. If you want to, know what happens next, that's usually the good sign of a story that got your attention. So this one certainly got mine. That's for sure.
All right, so let's just do a quick rating right now. We won't give away spoilers while we're giving it that rating, and then we'll jump into Spoiler Town after this. Sound good?
Sure.
All right, so as a series, where does it sit with you, Boo?
Out of 5. Honestly, I think I might actually give it a 4. I wanted to strongly give it a 4.5. I just feel that the problem with this right now is the monster, I think, for me, was a little underwhelming. I wanted something a bit more. I don't know what it is I wanted. That's the downside. I feel like if I were to put a description to it, it would be too easy. I wanted to be surprised by something that was just either grotesque or something just so shocking that it was, certainly unforgiving or unforgettable, sorry, is what I meant. But at the same time, the way they got built up to that showing of the creature for the first time, that's the part I absolutely love. So that's part of the big reason why this whole series gets a 4 out of 5 for me.
And I think I gotta agree with you. 4 out of 5 is where I'm gonna go. And like you, I wanted to give it more, but I felt the ending was a bit weak and maybe even felt a bit rushed. It definitely kept my interest the whole time and definitely had the right feel for a series or a show that I want to watch. So, it kept my interest that way, but it's a 4. And it's great to see new original stuff being made as opposed to the same repeated crap over and over again.
I am also going to give it a 4. I was going to give it a 4.5 as well, but like you said, the lead up was so amazing that when you actually got the payoff, it wasn't really there. So that kind of drew me back, and also some character decisions that were made throughout the show. It was like, they wouldn't do that. You're with them because there's so much development of each character. When they start making really weird choices, it throws you right off, and then it kind of puts you in a sour mood. So it's not sour enough to give it a really low mark, but a 4 is still a good mark, but it just took away that 0.5 just to,
I agree.
Shave the peak off that mark.
It's amazing how it backfired a bit almost, eh? Like in the fact that they had such a great way of showing us that they didn't even need to show us what the creature was, let alone that there was a creature. There was just something that was looming in the background until you found out that background was in their own backyard, in their own world for that matter. So I think that's what I loved about it the most. So yeah, I could honestly see it was actually almost not too shocking to see that the creature was underwhelming, but I was kind of hoping for more. So.
Right, so let's flip into spoilers. Let's dig into this. Why do we like this? Why don't we like this? Let's really explain to the fans listening at home what it is that makes this good, or, the things that make it not so good. We can start giving spoilers away now. I guess before we get into that, I think there's a few things to explain. We meet up with these 4 kids who are into D&D. One goes missing mysteriously. He's being searched for. It's in this little town where just, there's also, what is it? It's like some sort of lab? Some sort of secret government building, doing experiments.
Yeah, I believe it's a government-owned facility, but at the same time, they don't brandish a government brand or name. It's almost like they're under a private company name or something, which is basically a way of saying it's a secret hidden base. But yeah, that's...
And they basically pay off everybody and just make, people who create problems, they make them disappear. And
they seem to scare their community away from going anywhere near their compound. So it makes sense no one's really aware.
They got this monster running loose, and they're just trying to scare people away. And you got this girl who seems to be a telepath or has some sort of abilities. She meets up with the kids and the 3 remaining boys who are looking for their friend, and or named 11, or just because she was just given a number, she wasn't given a name, and then they call her L throughout the series.
Mm-hmm.
So there's kind of like that. There's kind of like, it feels like she's kind of like, back in the 80s, you'd have this sidekick character like an E.T. or a Gizmo from Gremlins. This was almost a way of doing it, but not making it corny, because it wasn't like a corny little cutesy character. It was just a little girl with telepathy, or whatever ability you want to call it, telekinesis. And
I kind of feel that's part of the reason why the show had such character, because the kids alone carried most of the load of the show, and I feel like they did such an amazing job.
Something that I gotta say right away, the kids are your major characters as soon as you get in, and you're probably thinking, oh shit, I don't want to listen, or I don't want to watch a show with kids. But no, these are good kid actors. These kids can act. Like, you watch some shows and the kids are terrible. You can't stand, you're like, oh, this kid's killing me. You know what I mean? But all these kids can act. It was amazing. It was refreshing to see.
Especially refreshing being the right word, because each of them carried a very unique personality. I was kind of worried that they would have seemed a little stale, a little, too obvious. Like most generic kids could be put into a show of this sort. But no, because they were the main attraction, all attention was on them at all times throughout the entire story being told, right? So, of course, we needed a group of kids who, in their own way, could stand their ground on their own, or work well together as a group and very much act like a bunch of best friends would, not only that, feud and so on and so forth. I absolutely loved it. That was the whole point of the story, that it was really revolving around them and their daily routine up until they finally ran into 11, right?
Well, it's definitely smart for the creators to use the kids, because they can go under so many radars.
Yeah.
Even if they slip up and say something like, oh, they're kids, they have a crazy imagination, that D&D... so it was really smart, because nobody believed Winona Ryder throughout the entire show. Oh, you saw something crawl through the wall. Well, here's the wall.
That's because it's Winona Ryder. Everyone knows she's just crazy. She's like, oh, it's that Winona Ryder. She's doing some crazy shit again.
She plays crazy quite well.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, actually. If anything, I felt like that was just one of my biggest worries of all, was her when she stood on the roster of all of the stars on the show. I felt like if she would have brought her own vibe and it was the wrong kind of vibe, the whole show could have crumbled literally. But she did quite well, actually. For a mom who was genuinely worried for her child, there was actually quite a few emotional moments where I felt really tense, and it was all because of her performance.
Yeah, I think she did an excellent job too, which I was also a bit surprised about, because I never thought she was a bad actress, so. But it's just like, like she hasn't done like a lot of like things recently or anything really good recently. So it's like it's good to see her she do some work and do something good, I actually think she did a good job. What do you think?
I thought she did a good job as well. She's been in kind of a side character the last couple of movies. She was Spock's mom, but then they killed her
then
off.
died. Yeah.
She was in Swan, and then they killed her off. Black Swan, sorry.
Black Swan. That's the one with Natalie Portman
Natalie Portman
and Mila Kunis.
That was a very small role too, if I remember correctly. She was very much in the background in that movie, but then again, she was quite memorable. Then.
Yeah, she got stabbed. Oh, actually, never mind. She got stabbed through imagination, because Natalie Portman was going a little cray-cray there halfway through the movie.
That's a whole other movie altogether.
A whole other movie. Long story short, it's good to see her being kind of more of a lead actress as opposed to a background filler noise.
Yeah,
I feel like she actually had to carry the adult perspective from the story being told, right? Because if her character didn't actually hold her ground, it would have been simply the kids as we were watching. Whenever she'd come up on screen, I wouldn't have cared. But I feel that's part of the reason why she did such a great job. It was a mom who was genuinely worried and had carried strongly throughout the entire series.
I want to mention something about throwback to the E.T. review that we did.
Oh, okay.
You're saying we were saying back in the 80s how like the parents or the moms in these movies are always like stupid. They never know what the hell's going on. Obviously she had something going on, but I found not Will. Who's the main kid? Who's the main kid's parents? Or what's the main kid's name?
Which is the main kid?
The one that fell in love with Elle.
Oh.
Finn Wolfhard. He plays as Mike Wheeler.
Okay, so it was Mike?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mike
yeah.
was the young boy who suddenly befriended 11.
Yeah, the one. Yeah. Okay, so I think his parents kind of fit that cliche of what we were saying back in the 80s movies, because they seem pretty fucking clueless most of the time throughout.
The husband, especially.
You know what?
Wow.
I will agree, but I say this in a different way. I don't feel like it's the same as what my comment might have been for like the E.T. movie. Well, here's why, and I'll say why personally. E.T., the writing style was meant that it was concentrating completely on the kids, so that the parents really had to be in the background. Otherwise, it would have been too much attention on them for no reason, right? I get why they would be totally oblivious to what the kids are doing, right? This movie, it wasn't so much they were oblivious. The father wanted to be ignorant to the scenario because he was, the distant parent, the one who found the girlfriend and moved away from the rest of the family, while Winona Ryder had to take care of her child. I get that her and her ex-husband can't get along, hence they tend to forget to pay attention to their own boy. hence the boy gets to be allowed to do anything he wants, right? So I don't think it's the level of obliviousness that I think the ET parents would have. They are morons, because she's right in front of him. ET's right in front of the mother, and she doesn't notice, for crying out loud, a weird thing, under
He's
a
got
white
long
sheet.
alien arms too. How do you not notice that?
That was just ridiculous. But I mean, we could, accept it. Now, if we did that in this show,
Long, freaky arms.
I think we were looking for that at this point, right? We were looking for the obvious flaws in the show, but that's one thing I couldn't find. But I think that's why I think his parents, were totally different. They were very much today's generation of parents. They're having problems, family-wise, and then of course the boy's forgotten of, and can run amok, do whatever he wants all across the small town. So I think that's very believable versus E.T., which the boy can go wherever he wants, but the mom and dad never really, are parents.
And I gotta mention, this does take place in the 80s as well as having the 80s feel. It goes hand in hand really well. And you see that in the background, and just like the 80s nostalgia, some of the toys that the kids have. And like I said, they're playing D&D and talking about X-Men comics. Yes, I mean, that really just helps bring the nerd out in you and helps you like this show. Talk about the cop character.
Jim?
Yes, we're talking about Jim. He was like I guess he was like the sheriff.
Yep.
Yeah, just going around beating people up and trying to figure out what happened to little Will. Meanwhile, dealing with alcoholism and his own daughter passing away.
Yeah. Yeah, he lost his daughter to, I think it was leukemia, at a very young age, which really pulled on the heartstrings. Wow. But it was interesting how he said that his daughter was in the city with the mom, and then somebody else said, no, the daughter's dead. And then they later flashed back to him playing with the daughter, and then she got ill, and then she died really quick. Like, no time to prepare. It was just shock and awe. So I think that was really smart of them to do, because now it shows how passionate he's going to be to find this kid. Because he can see in Winona Ryder where he was once upon a time when he lost his daughter.
Yeah. I thought that was brilliant as well.
It was really good.
Really well written. And he was also a great actor as well. David Harbour.
Yeah, he's a well-known actor. I've seen him in lots of movies.
Yep.
I've seen him in 2 separate Liam Neeson movies now. And he usually plays a bad guy, so it was interesting to see him play a good guy this time.
He was a Liam Neeson this time. He was looking for the missing kid, and he was going around just beating people up everywhere he went. It's like, hey guys, I think there's something over here. It's like, well, what's that? He just goes off camera, and then he comes there like brushing his hands or something. Like, what the heck? It's like, oh, I guess he took care of those guys.
Yeah, he has a very particular set of skills, I guess.
Yeah, he sure did.
Actually, speaking of which, David actually played in the latest Suicide Squad movie. I totally forgot about that, too, because I remember seeing him in that right after we had seen Stranger Things.
Oh.
So, yeah, that was one thing I remember.
Who did he play in
I can't remember who he was, actually.
He was an agent of Amanda Wallace.
Oh, okay, so he was Argus, a part of Argus.
Right.
Then.
Yeah.
Waller, right?
Waller.
I just like her last name, Waller.
All right, so let's dig into this movie. What do we like and what don't we like? Boo, you can go first.
Honestly, there's so much I do love about this show. It's I don't know what specifics I would love the most, but
what's your favorite? What's your least favorite?
I think the best thing about it is exactly what should stand out, which is the kids. And as a whole, I can't say specifically which child actor, and I'm going to say the actors behind the characters. Sorry, the characters are very well written and how they the cohesion between them as the story unfolds. But what I love about it is that each character is unveiled by the actor, and I feel the children had so much personality to bring to the screen. I fell in love with every single one of them. Sounds really weird, but it was the way the story.
Platonic.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It was just the kind of story where I felt like I didn't care about anyone else but what happened to the kids, because especially with the danger unfolding around everyone, it was the children that were the solution to the problem, as we all knew, right? So I love the fact that it was always them on screen, and they always brought something fresh to the screen. What I didn't like, really was just the creature. I felt like there was maybe the only thing that was standing out as awkward. It needed something a bit more to feel like there was just that much more looming danger. It did a great job so far, but not to the point where I felt like visually it was, shocking. But beyond that, the suspense build up to it was enough to say that I could look away from it. So that's my only gripe.
Okay. Yeah, I love the 80s feel. That is my favorite thing about this. It totally felt like an 80s series, something out of Spielberg or Stephen King. I like that. And the use of the kids in that way was also how I like that. And like you said, the kids did an excellent job at acting, and their characters were developed pretty good. So, I mean, yeah, I love that 80s feel. Because that, obviously I grew up in the 80s, so it tugs at my heartstrings. What's my least favorite?
Sorry, is it safe to say that D&D in itself was almost a bigger thing back in the day, even though it's become more and more popular over the years as well? But wasn't that something that
there's definitely a time when it wasn't like popular for a bit, but it was like more popular, I would say early 80s, late 70s. Okay. And then there was like this kind of there was this decline because I guess there was this video made because they're saying there's these kids run these satanic cults and they're playing D&D and all this shit like that.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, the fact that it's all based on the sheer theory of the opposite world to our own existence, in the D&D realm. I love the fact that they went all for it. You know what I mean? They could have hinted at D&D a little bit with the kids playing the game at the beginning, and that would have been it. And then just leave it alone. But they really ran with it by saying, "Oh no, the upside down world," right? So they had 11 literally take a board that the kids were all familiar with and just flipped it upside down, and one of the other children just figured it out, what that meant. I love that. That was just such an original way of telling a story.
All right. Yeah, and like you said, anyways, D&D has a huge play in this, and the kids keep referencing it. And it is something that was big in the early 80s, and when does this take place? Like 83 or something like that?
Yeah, 1983.
Perfect. And so that's like the time of like He-Man, Master of the Universe, like definitely Dungeons and Dragons would have been big back then. Yeah, and the kids are very much influenced by that, so that doesn't, hurt, aside from the 80s feel. And my least favorites about this is the ending. The ending was just, I felt like, okay, this was meant to be a miniseries, so I expected everything to be kind of wrapped up in a neat little bow at the end, but it was not. And I felt like the last episode or two might have been a little bit rushed. It's like, oh, we're on Netflix. They're just going to give us a second season anyways. I know. Let's make it so this doesn't end. We'll make it kind of open-ended. That way we have a reason to do a second season. At least that's how I felt. So things happen, like there's the girl character who is the sister of Mike gets involved with the fucking douchebag, and she stops being with the douchebag because she starts going out with Will's brother, who is obviously, the one that you want to see her be with. Let's see, what are their character names? So Jonathan Byers, who is Will's brother, and Nancy Wheeler, who is Mike's sister, they start having this thing going on, and then there's this douchebag. Oh, you think for sure at some point the fucking guy with the fucking 80s hair that you just want to see die is gonna get it when they fight the monster. Does it happen? No, it doesn't fucking happen. Unsatisfying. You know what's even more unsatisfying? She goes out with that guy at the end. At the end, she doesn't even end up with Jonathan. She ends up with the fucking douche. What's the douche's name? Steve Harrington. Oh, yes. So, yeah, that really irked me. And it felt like I said, okay, well, since, we're getting a second season anyways, let's make some things unresolved. And I felt like they did it intentionally, and I didn't like that. I would have liked it better if they wrapped it up in a nice little bow at the end.
So he is warning the writers, you should put a bow at the end of the last episode.
Of every season.
Yeah, at the end of every season.
So what I liked about it, besides the soundtrack, is the fact that they kind of broke up all the characters into three separate groups. You had the brother and the sister that went off together into the woods, and they have their own issues. They had the mother and the sheriff. They were trying to find their boy and eventually the girl by their own means. And then you had the kids. You had the three kids with Elle, and they eventually, halfway through the season, they all met up, and then they all, okay, there is a monster, there is another dimension, we need to figure this shit out because there's secret agents coming to get us. Let's do this. So I kind of like that they had three different stories that were converging at the same time for the same purpose, but nobody wanted to tell anybody else because they didn't know if they were going to be believed or not. So that was kind of cool. What I didn't like, and Jpar, you stole my thunder, was definitely that decision of that girl. Oh, was so stupid. Nancy. They make it seem like she's going for Jonathan because now she's getting to know him because that's who she's with. And, he's a really nice guy. He's just misunderstood. And then halfway through, what the hell is his name? Steve. Okay, Steve Harrington.
Yeah.
He even goes as far as publicly humiliating her in front of the entire city by making a movie listing saying Nancy's Easy or something.
Yeah,
starring
something.
The slut of the town or whatever. And everyone's like making fun of her, and I'm thinking, oh well, right there, he just screwed himself for the rest of the season. She goes back to him after that? I don't think so. Now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he was helping the old man clean it off the theater or not.
Yeah,
that still doesn't make him not a douche.
He did all these actions. He said very unforgiving things to the brother about his family while she was right there, saying that the family was poor and that's why they don't know how to live properly. They're disgusting. That's why God chose this kid to be taken and all this stuff. It's like, what are you saying?
Yeah.
And then she still goes for him.
Yeah. And at the end, she gives a little gift to Jonathan. You're like, oh, okay, this is nice.
Yeah, and it was like a camera.
And it's like, it's a camera. It's like, oh, okay, nice. It was like, wait, why is she with that guy?
I know.
It's like, oh, great. It's just Steve replacing the camera he broke on Jonathan to begin with because he's a bully douchebag and smashed it on him.
Yeah.
So she didn't give him fuck all as a gift for Christmas. It was just a replacement of the one that was already broken.
She's going to be in this domestic issue relationship for the rest of her life, popping out kids with this douchebag asshole that's going to be a salesman at Leon's. And who gives a shit about this other guy who's going to grow up to be some famous photographer making sweet love to Russian models all day.
I love that you guys got
You fucked up, Natalie. You fucked up.
I love the fact that you guys got so upset over the fact that...
Well, it's because it goes along with
Natalie's
the monster.
the actor. Nancy's the character.
Well, Natalia is her real name. What is her...
Nancy's the character.
Nancy, sorry, yeah. Natalia is her real name.
You fucked up, Nancy.
Yeah, you fucked up, Nancy. Anyways, and that goes along with the same thing with the monster. I honestly felt
fucked up, monster.
Yeah, you fucked up, monster. 6 out of the 8 episodes, I'm thinking, okay, the reason why the brother is in this upside down land and he's still alive and the monster can't get to him is because there's a good monster in that realm. And that's what I was thinking the entire time. There's got to be a good monster as well as the bad monster, and that's who's talking through the lights, not the kid. So I kind of had that idea going on.
Isn't Elle the good monster?
But she's on this side of the fence. I was
but she
expecting
can
one
go
to be
back
on the other side of the
It
fence.
seems like she might be able to go back and forth.
Well, she can through her mind, because she was able to talk to or touch the monster while she was in what I'm going to call the Bacta tank, the sound deprivation tank, or whatever it was called, the sensory deprivation tank that she was in. She was able to touch the monster reacted, and then that caused the whole portal and all that jazz. Now, because there was no good monster and there was just one solitary, it almost seemed like there was multiple monsters. When Barb gets taken at the pool, that seemed like a separate monster. When she was talking to the kid and he was in the box in the Upside Down land, I almost felt like he was being protected by another monster. There wasn't. It was only one monster. Bulletproof, by the way. Give me a break. And,
you are right, they didn't explain enough.
No, and that's what it leans down to what you said as well. There was no neat little package. You can't tell me they did not think this was going to get a second season, because there was no wrapping up of a lot of things. Was Nancy going to go back with the photographer? Is there more aliens out there? Is Elle gone?
Are the aliens, or they're just from another...
Or another dimension whatever we want to call it. Aliens to us.
But they're from the Upside Down world, which is like another dimension on our own world.
So there was a lot of anticlimactic, weird decisions being made at the end of the show, and it kind of went...
Granted, not enough was explained, so I can understand why you might think they were aliens.
Yep. Well, there you go. There's my 2 cents.
Sorry.
Still a good show.
Oh, yeah, still
we
good.
We still gave scores all around, yeah.
Damn right.
May I just add one thing? I kind of feel like one poor character that always seems to get forgotten of is Barb. Barb, who sadly, and actually you guys want to gripe about, was it Nancy? The character Nancy? Nancy, she only upset me the most when she...
Well, that's another thing.
Had that one moment where she decides to go upstairs with the boy instead of, in my opinion, being the better friend, which is, going back home with her friend. But
her
of course,
character changed halfway through. She became the plastic that she said that she didn't want to be.
Yeah.
Right? She said her and Barb were fighting the plastics at high school, and then she became one. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed so out of character. And then
she was going one direction, and it's like, wait a minute, we got a second season. Oh, we better write something in so she doesn't. But it doesn't resolve so easily.
Isn't that a good thing, though? I mean, good in the sense that we're clearly talking about her character in such a way that she's has us upset. That's, to me, I think the interesting part, because you guys seem to go on about how she's such an idiot of a teenager, but she's still very much a teenager doing teenage things. I'm not quite surprised, personally. She followed her,
her vagina,
yeah,
not her heart.
She clearly didn't think through, what she should have done. But I felt like that was purely what they were going with. They were trying to show that teenage angst that we've seen a lot of other stories, being told. And that's exactly what I would expect from a character like her.
And now we're going to get flagged by YouTube for using the V word.
Well, you know what? I think you nailed it. The moment up to her deflowering and on, she was a completely different character, and you didn't want to watch her anymore, and you didn't care about her anymore, and you kind of wanted her to get eaten instead of Barb.
It's almost like her credibility was almost lost with the viewer because you felt like she was just too conniving for her own good.
Yes.
It seemed like she was starting to like Jonathan, and it's like, oh, he's just misunderstood, like Myles, and then like Myles said, and then she it doesn't even her friend died, and Steve, whatever the fuck, did not give a shit about that.
Not only did he not give a shit,
now she doesn't give a shit.
He was getting mad at her, for calling the cops for her missing friend because he thought he was going to get in trouble by his parents.
Right.
That's the guy that you just made love to, and you want to do it again? What? The brother has heart. The brother has soul. This guy is literally a piece of shit.
So the problem is not, oh great, we have something to carry on into the second season. It's like, no, now I hate this fucking character.
Kill her off, please.
Because it seemed like she was changing for the better throughout the show. Being with Jonathan and trying to help him find... he was helping her try to find Barb, but at the same time it coincided with him trying to find his brother. So, it seemed like, okay, some good's going to come out of this. And no, she just goes back with the fucking douche. It doesn't matter if he decides to be a good guy after. He was still a fucking douche and did some really douchey fucking things.
And he was douchey specifically to her.
And her dead friend.
The public humility. Yeah, the...
missing kid. Like all the asshole
her
things
best
he
friend
did.
is missing, and he not only doesn't give a shit, but he's kind of like, hey, don't bring that noise over at my house. Fuck that shit. Don't say she got lost at my
he's
house.
extreme asshole about it.
Holy Jesus.
I get that, and I get that you guys are pissed
So
about it,
it's
but that's, to me, the interesting about this is that you guys are so upset. You want to see her killed off now, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, so
honestly,
they did it on purpose.
It's not so much that I want to see her killed off. It's
No,
just that I think it made me not like that character, and it also made me not like the writing because I felt like they had an ending to this, and like I said, somewhere near the last two episodes, like, wait a minute, we're getting a second season. Oh, let's make some things a little unresolved. That way we can have some things to work with in the second season. I don't like that. I would have liked that. It's like a movie. You know when you make a movie and you plan to make the sequel when you make the movie? It's not good. It's like, oh, we might be back. They do some sort of corny line at the end where it's like, oh, great, we're gonna have Super Mario Brothers 2. This is gonna be awesome, right? No. Nobody wants to see fucking Super Mario Brothers 2. The first one was horrendous. You don't plan a show or a movie planning to make a fucking sequel. You make a good movie first, and then you make the sequel.
Hey, Jay. Are you sure you watched the same show as us? Are you sure? Are you sure the cover of the? Are you sure it didn't say Super Mario Brothers 2?
I 100% agree with you though, Jpar, because they could have just left one thing out. Is there more to this dimension? And is Elle really gone? And that would have been fine.
Yeah.
Just leave those unresolved issues, and it would still be a great package season. And you can still go back to it if you want to. If the studios say, yeah, There's a lot of fan service going on here, or not fan service, but a lot of fan reception that likes it. Let's give it a try.
I just don't know if it's fair to actually blame so much the characters, because I feel like you almost went as far as to say you didn't really enjoy the writing because of how...
The writing is great, but I find they did it a little too quickly at the end, as if someone said, hey, we got an extra season of this, guys, so they left a little couple things unresolved, whereas I felt like... It seemed like the show was going in a very... going a certain direction. And then they flipped it around, but I felt like they flipped it because they felt like they want to work more into a second season, as opposed to making it the mini-series that it was intended to be to begin with.
No, and I get that you're saying that it kind of ended on an open-ended note, like, they could have done anything at any given time now. No, I was worried that you kind of said that, Nancy, was it? Her character, I feel like, yes, we're supposed to kind of, frown upon her because of what she's done throughout the entire show. You're right. She's done some pretty stupid things. But I kind of fell for that same reason. The characters are all doing very much human-based things at a time when they really need to pay close attention to what they're doing, because they're all getting killed in some fashion. Her best friend, Barb, literally got killed before anything could be done about it. And then all of a sudden, she's forgotten about it. That to me, that upset me more than seeing her do a lot of the things with the young man, that she had, been deflowered by, as we all said. I don't care about the douche. The douche is pretty much going to be the same kind of character he's always been, the douche. But to see her respond to him, yeah, I guess it can be upsetting, but I was more upset over Barb. That's the only thing about her. The writing was perfectly fine the way they developed Nancy, is what I'm saying.
It just seemed like everything she said and everything she did didn't match. And that was kind of weird. So if you muted anytime she talked, her character would make sense. But because you had to listen to what she had to say, like, my family is a stereotypical nuclear family that she said, right? We have the jock, we have the homecoming queen, they met, they had kids, they bought a house at the end of a cul-de-sac. That's how she said it. She's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like my parents. And then who we thought was going to be her new boyfriend, the brother, is like, okay, so you're rebelling. Yes, I'm rebelling. And then what does she do? She goes for the jock douche, who is literally doesn't care about her needs, her wants, her interests, her friends, her well-being, nothing, and publicly humiliates her after he takes her V card. So literally, this guy is human scum, and she fell right for the trap. Like, she is defending a house with the brother, and then he just shows up and, douches around for 5 minutes or so. And then that's enough. That's all she needed. Oh, I forgot about every douche thing he did. Breaking the camera, saying all the terrible things about the brother, about his family, saying all the
calling me a
things
slut
about
on the marquee of a theater.
Yeah, publicly humiliating me. That meant nothing.
So what you're saying is she made pretty much the same decision a lot of other young teenage girls have done in a variety of generations, which is go for the asshole.
She turned into her mother, what she did.
You're right.
And she said, I don't want to be like my mother. Next episode, she's her mother. Give me a break.
You can say fuck.
But you're right.
Give me a fucking break.
Beep.
I'll throw a beep in.
The sensor's got a delay. Anyways.
All right, so where do you guys see season 2 going? Are you looking forward to it? Or are you not looking forward to it?
Oh, hell yeah. I'm very much looking forward to it. I just hope to God that they actually do come on strong on the very beginning, because I feel like you guys had said, they ended on too much of an open-ended note, meaning on day one, on the very first episode, I better get something great, because I'm expecting it to be strong.
Yeah, like Steve Harrison gets killed, like decapitated or something in episode 1.
With Nancy.
I'd be up for that. Just enough to say that it'd be dramatic enough to start something.
A porta potty falls out of the sky from a plane, lands on their house while they're making out, dead. And then they actually forget about them in the next episode.
Yep, there you go.
I have a sister?
That's a very specific situation. Jeez, did you dream about this the night before? Or what?
No, it's actually from a show.
Oh.
It's either 6 Feet Under or something else.
It's going to be in season 2 of Stranger Things, apparently.
I am not looking forward to season 2. I think
I
think it should have been a 1-season one-off, and just like Jpar and I said, it should have wrapped and leave it a little bit ambiguous at the end with Elle and with the other dimension and possible other monsters, but that's it. There should not be another season. I wouldn't watch it personally.
I get that.
I am interested to see it. I'm worried about it because, like I said, I feel like they're forcing a second season. I think it would have been better if they kind of finished off this season with a nice little bow, nice little package all tied up, and then make you wonder what the next season's about. But, like, are they going to cast the same actors? Are they not? But it feels like they're just going to cast the same actors and kind of continue this story. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, so we'll see.
I don't know. Well, let me ask you guys if I said this. What if the story was more about the idea that if 11 had never really quite died, obviously most of us theorize that she's in the Upside Down world.
Right.
What if the season 2 brought upon us 11 returning, but instead of bringing back one of the creatures, she starts bringing back almost an entire army of them if she's not careful. Like that, I think that would turn out to be a season that I'd be very interested in seeing, because now the threat level has increased. The town is still very much totally oblivious to what's going around it again, and at the same time, all we got left to defend the town are the boys and the kids, I should say, and the sheriff. I can't really count Winona in there, but I just feel that it's just one of those stories that has a lot to to bring. It's just there's more to it. I know what you're saying, Jay. I could be worried, but I am very anxious.
The only way it would work is if they did a little bit of a prequel, maybe 2 episodes, and they show you 1 to 10, right? Because she's 11, so there was 1 to 10 either failed experiments.
Now that I like.
Ooh.
So because she's the only one that can effectively get rid of this monster. We saw bullets not working. They were scared of fire, but I don't know if it really killed them or not, or injured it. I think a trap hurt it, but it didn't really stop it.
Right, yeah.
It just seemed like this monster was so they made it so powerful that there's only one type of character that can actually do
One
anything.
thing they can eliminate it,
and that's
which
the
is
telekinetics.
Yeah.
So we need more telekinetics, and I think they can give us more because that 11 number.
But yes, I mean, there's really a lot more they can do with that story. But I don't know. It's risky though.
To me, it's got the Wayne's World syndrome. Wayne's World was a good movie, one-off. Right? And then they went ahead and made the second movie, and then it's like, you're now making the first movie seem worse because the second movie's not as good. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. You are right, guys. I mean, I feel like it could just as much demolish what the first season had created so uniquely, right? No, you're right. It could backfire on them, but I'm sincerely hoping that
Could
if
be
they're
a
smart
Taken
about
2.
this, I still enjoyed Taken 2 though. But that's the point, right? This is all depending on what we're expecting from the show and the story being told. One thing's for sure, if they're not careful, they could upset a lot of strong viewers. There's a huge following to this show, actually more so than I think a lot of people realize. And it's happened so quickly that I don't think they know what they really have. If they do it very smart, they could actually turn out, I don't want to see them pump out 4, 5, 6 seasons of this. I'm not saying that. But if they do it in a very, interesting fashion, they could pull off something quite different here. They just have to, think hard.
All right. Well, pretty warm reviews for Stranger Things on Netflix. You should check it out over the October month because it is a sci-fi thriller kind of scary stuff, 80s kind of genre. So it'll be something you can definitely check out. But also during the month of October, we want you to send in your fan requests. We want you to send in your requests for the scariest movies, anything Halloween related, anything of that sort. We're going to be doing it over the next few weeks in October, so definitely send those requests. You can leave it as a comment below on this video or any video that we post throughout October. We will be keeping an eye on that. So definitely send those in. Send your scary movies in. Send your fan requests. We will be taking them through the month of October just like we did last year. Alright, so also, we want you to like, share, and subscribe as per usual. Check us out on Facebook. Give us a big old like. And you can check us out on Twitter. You can always join the conversation there. We're at We Promise Nothing. Drop the G. Also on Instagram. We Promise Nothing with a G. Is there anything I've missed, guys?
No.
This is Jpar signing out.
Da Boo going bye-bye.
Myles leaving the building.
And if you disagree with anything you heard here on the show, you can leave a comment below. But as always, we
promise nothing.
Good night.